Hello everyone and welcome to Tiresome. Today is a bit of a sort of off-the-cuff episode because something went wrong on the Scimitar. In fact, actually, it went wrong a couple of weeks ago, and you've guessed it, it's the ruddy brake drum again. And same as always, it went bang, clunk, and in this circumstance, the wheel adjuster is absolutely shattered. There it is, the original wheel adjuster, and as you can see, it's completely broken off there, and the bit on the back as well is also really gone. Anyway, I've already got a new one on. Luckily, had one of them in stock. Huge shout out to Nige, not only for supplying these parts originally, but also for just letting me talk at him a minute ago and affirming what I thought. Some of you may remember in the last episode, Father was fiddling with the handbrake cable there coming out, and what we suspect is happening. There he is, working on the other side as we speak. Hello. Hello. What we suspect is happening is the handbrake cable, which we now know is seized on this side, isn't actually allowing. Oh well, I mean, looks like Father's already removed it from this side. But yeah, it wasn't allowing the sprung mechanism of the drum brake to sort of be able to clamp down on itself because it was holding it back. So even though the handbrake wasn't applied and wasn't binding and wasn't affecting the hydraulic system, it was affecting the actual running of the sprung system of the drums, question mark? I don't know, we'll find out, but it seems to be a pretty good sort of breakdown, and you can see, if the camera was to focus at all, this shoe has really taken a hit. But luckily, yet again, as always, I've got a spare one ready to go. I need to investigate this wheel cylinder, because even though it doesn't look like it's leaked that much and there's loads of fluid up front, if I move this boot, fluid does come out. Not that it's coming out right now. Don't know. What do you think, Father? There was some fluid in it earlier in that little boot on the end of the wheel cylinder, so
it may have just popped out and gone back in and been happy. But
the only way to try is put it all back together and try it under pressure, really, isn't it?
Yes, I mean you can do that without putting it all. Just put the drum on and stamp on the brakes when we've got it all assembled.
Whilst it's still in the air.
Whilst it's in the air, because then we'll be able to just whip the drum off again, you know, without even the screw in place or anything.
Yeah.
Because we'll be able to then check it for leakage.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, you're right. We could do that and then take the drum off anyway to see if there's any come out inside the drum.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to. Well, we don't want to waste more drum shoes by contaminating them with brake fluid either.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Let's try that. How's it going under there?
Well, it's being reasonably responsive at the moment.
Really? And you've whipped the other side off as well?
Well, yeah, the other one was easy because I'd already taken it apart a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, of course,
this one had not been apart. Somebody decided that the clevis pin and pin wasn't good enough, so they used a nylock nut and a bolt in place of it.
Okay, sure. I mean,
a bit of a next time you order bits, or order a pin and a clevis pin.
Yeah.
And then you can have it as it came out of the factory. But
yeah.
It will do the job.
And it has done, because this side actually works.
Yes.
Or at least somewhat work. The problem is that you can't adjust the handbrake fully up inside without both the drums really working. It doesn't quite work that way. But needless to say, hopefully this should stop the clunks, and in the long run stop the rear right wheel or the rear right drum from exploding in one way or another, as it has done religiously pretty much since I've owned the car, almost 10 years ago. Father is modelling now. This is the older one here, which is fine. You can actually see it's quite worn, but as we just said off camera, it doesn't look that bad, you know, like it's obviously old as hell, it's, you know, covered in crap and all that, as you'd expect for something that's under the car. But Father thinks it has been replaced some point in the car's life, which is a fair bet. Also, the other thing is, the new one, obviously, super shiny, all the lovely bits on it and everything. But its design is actually very similar apart from the ends, you said, Father.
Yeah, but just to explain before we get on to the comparison, what has happened to this cable? The whole cable is absolutely fine in nearly every way, apart from the inner cable goes through these, and these fix onto the brackets on the back of the drum. But what's happened in the case of the one on the driver's side is that the inner cable has rusted onto the outer, so it won't move anymore. So therefore one brake doesn't act, and what we think has happened is, because this isn't moving, the hydraulic bit isn't being actuated properly by the return springs, and therefore the drums become frisky and lock themselves into various positions and mess things up. But going back to the comparison, so you can see the only difference really is that these ends are different. Not much. In fact, I thought they looked shorter, but it's probably just because they're in a different colour. They are actually dimensionally the same.
Yeah.
Slightly different design, but that's the only difference. I can see everything else is super duper.
And this came off very easy.
It did.
There is one thing worth mentioning, and that is my car in particular, which also goes along with this probably isn't the standard brake cable, doesn't have these little round clips that clip the handbrake cable to the rear axle, and mine doesn't have them. Not an issue in operation. You said it looks all right under there anyway?
Looks fine. And the other evidence that the car has had a replacement handbrake cable is that it's had the uprated alloy little pulley wheel that goes on the end of the adjuster, which is connected to the handbrake.
Yeah.
So the lever itself, I mean.
It's worth mentioning, actually, that might be my fault. I told Father that there was an uprated alloy one as opposed to the fibre one that's on the car. It might be, and the only reason I know this is because I saw it on QRG's website. It might be that actually they make the alloy ones which were produced on these cars, but they sell them for the previous models or something, and I've got confused.
Ah, right.
That could be, that's probably that, isn't it?
Well,
Because why would someone...
if you put exposed nylon on the underneath of a car that's spraying oil everywhere,
yeah,
it's not going to last very long.
But then, as we all know, this car had an alloy fibre timing gear, so
it's true.
We know no limits with nylon and fibre on the Ford Essex, and
it keeps everything moving.
It keeps everything moving. Yeah, self-lubricating. Meanwhile, I am, as you can see, cracking along with putting this back together. So even though there was a little bit of fluid coming out of the wheel cylinder, we have opted to reuse this one because it's not pissing out and it's not coming out. I think what's happened is it has gone out past the point where it's happy. Some fluid has come out, but now it's seated again. It's fine and it's sealed again, and that the seal isn't damaged at all in any way. And we're going to go with that. We're going to put the drum on. We're not going to put the wheel on or anything. We're going to bleed the brakes. We're going to press the brake pedal and then see what happens. If this holds and no fluid comes out, then we know we're good and we can finish bolting everything up and taking it for a test drive. If it starts pissing out with fluid, no worries, because it only takes, 15 minutes to change it from that point, and I've got a spare one in the shed anyway. So let's crack on before the weather comes in, because oh well, the camera doesn't make it look that... no, it does. It's not the best. Just having a further inspection at this, recording on the phone now, and you can see the wheel cylinder is actually completely out on the right-hand side and in on that side. So it might just be that it hasn't started leaking yet because this hasn't actually gone back in and nipped the seal. So that'll be fun. I will get back to you with how that goes. And unfortunately, as predicted, so as you can see, I've got it relatively level now, and if I squeeze this, you can see there's fluid coming out and then going down there. So yeah, we're just going to replace the wheel cylinder and be done with it. Right then, everyone, that's all back on, all ready to go. No, not quite. It wasn't as easy as that, I'm afraid. Basically, what happened yesterday, I know, the last shot was us working on the car happily, everything going well, and then it went quickly not very well. Basically, the issue was, well, I'll start from the beginning. It was really annoying because I realised what the issue was, and indeed the adjuster had pretty much shattered completely, as you saw, and I luckily had a spare one, and I realised it bent the shoe, and I luckily had a spare one, and then I realised the wheel cylinder had gone as well. And luckily I had a spare one. I was like, this doesn't go this well. Father took the handbrake cable off, put the new one on seamlessly. It was a bit tricky, sort of, both of us. I had to compress the handbrake cable to give him enough slack to be able to get it around the little wheel that's actually under the handbrake lever itself. But once we figured that out, that went on pretty easily as well. And things don't go this well. And when I left you in the last shot, and I said, all right, we just got to get this wheel cylinder on, that'll be done in pretty quick, and then we'll just get it bled and adjusted and we'll be off. No. So we had a bit of an issue. They have on the back of the wheel cylinders on the Scimitar spring clips or circlips or E-clips, as some people call them. And basically what that is, I will show you. That is a spring clip, and the idea is that these 3 points of contact around there seat in around the groove here on the back of the wheel cylinder and keep it in place. It's lovely. However, these ones that I have with the wheel cylinders are absolutely rubbish. They're not sprung steel, they're just mild steel. They don't tend, well, they bend, but they don't spring, you know, which is kind of what the point is of them, or at least in my findings, that's what the issue was. So rather than them being sprung metal, like these little ones here, oh god, where am I? There. Rather than them being the black sort of sprung metal, those are mild steel. So what I did actually is I thought, what about if we just use spring clips instead? Father, I don't know if you guys know, but he owns a DIY store, and he had a load of these. As you can tell, these are actually a bit too small to go on the wheel cylinder, but we had a bigger one. I put that on and that secured it absolutely fine with what I'm using as a little template here, spring clip tools, rather than, but you can see that I actually just got the angle grinder out and cut a little slot in the tip of a flathead screwdriver, just a crappy one, so we could sort of slot that around the spring clip and try and hammer it on, thump it on, whatever, to no avail. Anyway, it's on now with spring clips, but it is the following day. Good news though, I have adjusted the rear brakes and they're all going well. That's brilliant. And if I go into the handbrake, if I pull it, that's quite a nice sort of ratchet there. It's not just a floppy handbrake like it used to be, and this is solid. So there is some adjustment I'm sure to do, and we do need to bleed the hydraulic system, of course, and all that stuff in a minute when Father gets here. Let's cut to Father being here. And Father has arrived, and look at this, look, the handbrake cable is on. I installed this just a moment ago, and Father is just adjusting it to make sure it's level on both sides. As you can imagine, that's quite important. But the handbrake itself actually feels so good. This car has never, well, at least in my ownership, has never actually had a fully working handbrake. Enough to pass an MOT, but you really have to pull out quite a few notches, and it's never felt this good. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. Let's hope that it performs once we've bled the brakes and get it on the floor. We will see. We're rolling. Oh, it stopped the car from rolling. That's the first time it's ever done that. Just check the foot brakes all right. Yeah, well, I mean, the door almost came off, so that's good. So let's test that handbrake out a little bit more. That's just handbrake. That's good.
Got a proper handbrake now, lad.
Out of gear, sitting by itself. It's on the highest notch.
That's not too bad.
Not too bad.
It will settle in.
It will settle in. Don't forget, it's got new shoes on as well. And once that cable's stretched out a little bit, which it will do, we can really get the adjustment on it. Because at the moment, the actual arms on the back of the drums are baggy as hell, and the gear lever is tight as hell. So we can adjust that and balance it all out over time. But I'm going to class that as a very big win. That's probably the most handbrake I've ever had. Even when I first got the car, which is when it was its best before, it passed MOTs like that, but it's much better now, so I'm super happy with that. And of course the brakes work, and as Father said when we were bleeding, he's never felt the pedal feel so good. It's a solid pedal in there now. So I wonder how long that, you know, that brake cable, that handbrake cable has really been causing issues even with the hydraulic system as well. Either way, thanks very much for joining us. Thank you, Father, for helping.
Of course, no problem.
We will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.